Shona, ready when you are, inshallah.
Inshallah, go ahead.
Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala wa ba'd. Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our weekly dars, Virtues of Islam, delivered by our beloved Shaykh Salem Al Amry. I will pass the mic and the screen to the Shaykh, and the Shaykh can begin, inshallah. فليتفضل مشكورا شيخنا Shaykh Salem Al Amry.
جزاك الله خير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. إنه من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we are talking about the virtues and the introduction to the virtues of Islam. And today we will be talking, inshallah, that in Islam, there is no difference between a man and a woman regarding obligations, religious commitments, which we call takalif shar'iyah. So all the rulings in the Sharia where Allah Azza wa Jal addressed men, they are also addressed to the women. No difference whatsoever. Unless Allah Azza wa Jal, unless and until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned otherwise, there are certain rulings pertain to women only. Apart from that, any ruling in the Sharia directed to men, it's also directed to women. So this is, we have to keep clear in our minds. There's no difference, for example, between a man and a woman in granting a protection to a kafir, which we call ijara, yujir. A Muslim man or a Muslim woman, they gave protection to a non-Muslim and told this non-Muslim, you are protected and no Muslim is going to harm you. So by granting this protection to a non-Muslim, the whole ummah, whole Muslim ummah, they have to respect that. Even if a young boy or young girl gave protection to a non-Muslim, then that non-Muslim has to be protected, and the whole Muslim ummah should respect what this young boy or girl gave. The protection that he granted or she granted to the kafirs, to the non-Muslim. عن علي رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم المؤمنون تتكافى دماؤهم ويسعى بذمتهم أدناهم وهم يد على من سواهم ولا يقتل مؤمن بكافر ولا ذو عهد في عهده. رواه أحمد وأبو داود والنسائي, and it is authentic hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, as Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu narrated, that Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, the blood of Muslim, which means his life, is equivalent to the blood of another Muslim. That is regarding the qisas, retaliation, and blood money. They are all the same. Okay? If a man killed a woman, he will be killed. A woman killed a man, he will be killed. Master killed his slave, he will be killed. A slave killed his master, he will be killed. So the blood of, providing that they are Muslim, the blood of one Muslim, which means the life of the Muslim, is equivalent to the blood of another Muslim. The protection of Allah is one extended to the most humble of the believers, which means if a Muslim gives protection to a man or a group of men, they should all help him, even if he was the most humble of them. He's a Muslim from the Muslim Ummah. He granted protection to a non-Muslim or non-Muslims, group of them. So the whole Ummah has to help him to fulfill what his promise and what he promised the non-Muslims. Okay, so that's what the Prophet ﷺ said. وَيَسْعَى بِذِمَّتِهِمْ أَدْنَاهُمْ. Any Muslim, he can grant the protection to non-Muslims. Any Muslim. Then he said, believers are like one hand against their enemy. And this is the unity that should be there among the Muslims. Believers are like one hand against their enemies. No believer is to be killed for a disbeliever. If a believer killed a non-believer, then in the qisas or retaliation, he should not be killed. No believer is to be killed for a disbeliever. Nor should one who has a covenant with the Muslims be killed while his covenant holds. Let us reflect on this hadith. Al-mu'minun tatakafa dima'uhum. So the blood of all Muslims is the same. Whether he's a master, whether he's a slave, a man, a woman, the same. So if someone killed someone intentionally, deliberately, then you know the ruling in the Sharia is the qisas, capital punishment, retaliation. And this is the right of the family of the one who, the murdered, the one who was killed. And it's up to them to decide whether to go for qisas. So this person will be killed, or they accept blood money, diya, or they forgive. Say, okay, we have forgiven him for the sake of Allah. So it's up to the members of the family to decide. And you see in Islam, let's say a father was killed and one of his children is still young. So the killer will be put in jail until that boy or girl reaches the age of puberty. Because then they have to get his consent and what he decides or she decides. So the blood of one Muslim is equivalent to the blood of another Muslim. Some people, they misunderstand the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Al-hurru bil-hurr, al-abdu bil-abd, a free man for a free man, a slave for a slave. So they say if a slave is for a slave. If a slave is killed by a free man, he should not be killed. Or if the free man killed the slave, he should not be killed, because the free man for a free man, hurr bil-hurr, wal-abd bil-abd. So some people, they misunderstand the ayah. The ayah talks about a situation, talks about the practice of the Arabs, what they used to do. If a slave kills a free man, they will not kill the slave. They will say, he's a slave. He's not equivalent to our master. He's not. No, we will not accept a slave for our master. For a free man, a slave? No. We will kill a free man from his tribe, not a slave. So that's what they used to do. Or if a slave killed another slave, they say, no, we will not kill the slave. We want free man. Our slave is worth many of their free men. So that was the situation. So Allah is telling them, don't do that, stop it. If a free man kills a free man, he should be killed. A slave killed a slave, should be killed. And if any of the others, the same. Okay. Tooth for the tooth, an eye for an eye. So the ayah does not limit that a free man only should be killed if he killed a free man, or a slave should be killed only if he kills a slave. So if a slave kills his master, don't kill him. That's not the case. So here, this hadith, that's why you need the sunnah, my dear brothers and sisters, to explain to you the Quran. Without the sunnah, you'll not be able to understand the Quran. Then he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَلَا يُقْتَلُ مُؤْمِنٌ بِكَافِرٍ. This is very important. Because the disbeliever or the kafir, in the sight of Allah, he has no value, no significant value. Allah described them by saying, أُولَٰئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ. They are worse than the cattle. They are the fuel of the hellfire. On the day of resurrection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he frees and sets free the believers by sending the disbelievers in their places in the hellfire, as mentioned in the hadith. An angel would come dragging a kafir and would tell the believer, this is the one who's going to occupy your seat in the hellfire. In the hellfire. So now we have a believer who believes in the oneness of Allah Azza wa Jal. And he killed a disbeliever. Then he should not be killed. The hadith is clear. And this is the opinion of the Jumhur, the majority, apart from the Ahnaf. So believers are like one hand against their enemies. No believer is to be killed for a disbeliever, for qisas. Yes, he can be disciplined. The ruler make ta'zir. He can put him in jail, but the punishment will not reach capital punishment. It will not reach that. The same thing if a father killed his own son. The father should not be killed. Because Allah has embedded in the heart of the father this fatherly love. He works day and night to make his children happy. He sacrifices for them. So there is something Allah planted in him which will prevent him from committing such crime. But if this happens, that means this son, his undutifulness towards his father is unimaginable. So the father lost his sanity and he killed his son. So in that case, the father will not be killed. And this is very clear. Allah made it very clear through his Prophet ﷺ, that the father will not be killed because he killed his own son. And these are rulings set by Allah Azza wa Jal. Wallahu ya'lam wa antum la ta'lamun. Allah knows and you don't know. So the kafir cannot be equal to the mu'min. Never. Never. So no believer is to be killed for a disbeliever, nor should one who has a covenant with the Muslims be killed while his covenant holds. This is another ruling here. That is, non-Muslim, we have treaty, peace agreement with them. So they are not combatant. So it is haram if someone kills one of them. Nor should one has a covenant with the Muslims be killed while his covenant holds, still valid. So these are rulings in the Sharia. Then all the previous compilers of the hadith, Imam Ahmad, Abu Dawud, and Nasa'i, they also mentioned another narration that says, وَمَنْ أَحْدَثَ حَدَثًا أو آوى محدثا فعليه لعنة الله والملائكة والناس أجمعين. Whoever innovates in the deen or grants protection to an innovator, then Allah, His angels, and all mankind curse him. So this is very important. You should not support the innovators or grant them protection. Someone who is spreading bid'ah and spreading misguidance in the community, and you protect him. This is totally prohibited. And this person is cursed. Then Allah, His angels, and all mankind curse him. So, this hadith taught us that Muslims' blood is the same. If a Muslim killed a non-Muslim, the punishment should not be capital punishment for him, but it can be anything less than that. Imprisonment, okay? As the Muslim qadi and the judge sees what is the suitable punishment for him, but it should be less than the capital punishment. And this is, as I mentioned to you, the opinion of the majority, the Jumhur of the Muslim scholars, based on this hadith, apart from the Hanafi school. Because the Hanafi school, they consider that a soul for a soul or a nafs bin nafs. And the hadith explains, yes, soul for a soul or life for life, if they are believers, as explained here. Disbelievers, with the believers, they are not equivalent, they are not equal. So, if a Muslim grants protection to a non-Muslim, then that non-Muslim should be protected. And the Muslim should respect what this Muslim did. And they should help him to fulfill his promise. And this is what Allah says in the Quran in Surah At-Tawbah, ayah number 6. Allah says, وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ فَأَجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ أَبْلِغْهُ مَأْمَنَهُ ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَوْمٌ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. And if anyone of the polytheists, anyone of the mushriks seeks your protection, then grant him protection, so that he may hear the words of Allah, the Quran. Then deliver him to his place of safety. That's because they are a people who do not know. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. If any one of the mushriks, any mushrik, istajaraka, sought your protection, O you Muslim. Okay? So this mushrik, he said, and he asked a Muslim to protect him. So Allah says, فَأَجِرْ. grant him protection. حتى يسمع كلام الله, so that he may hear the words of Allah, the Quran, which means the da'wah should be given to him. ثم أبلغه مأمنة, then deliver him to his safe destination and place of safety. ذلك بأنهم قوم لا يعلمون. That's because they are a people who do not know. Another hadith which is in Bukhari. Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu anhuma عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, and this is very frightening hadith. من قتل نفسا معاهدا, من قتل نفسا معاهدا لم يرح رائحة الجنة وإن ريحها يوجد من مسيرة 40 عاما. Because some maybe are wondering, okay, this Muslim who killed a non-Muslim and he's not killed, is he going to be left just like that? No punishment for him? Even in the akhirah, in the dunya we know, he's put behind bars. But how about the next life? This is what will happen to him in the next life. من قتل نفسا معاهدا لم يرح رائحة الجنة وإن ريحها يوجد من مسيرة 40 عاما. رواه البخاري. Narrated Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, may Allah be pleased with them both. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever killed a mu'ahad, a person who's granted pledge of protection by the Muslims, shall not smell the fragrance of paradise, though its fragrance can be smelled at a distance of 40 years. That means he will not enter the Jannah. This person, the Muslim, who killed this mu'ahad, he will not smell the fragrance of the Jannah. He'll be punished in the hellfire. So whoever killed a mu'ahad, and the kuffars are different types. We have a dhimmi, the dhimmi, which means a non-Muslim who lives under the umbrella of Islam. He lives within the Islamic State and he pays the jizya, the tax. This is called dhimmi. And he is protected, his wealth is protected, his safety is guaranteed and granted, his children, everything. Not only that, and he has no obligations towards the Islamic State. In other words, if the country is under attack, he is not requested or obliged to defend the country. It is the duty of the Muslims to defend the country and their subjects, including non-Muslims. So you can imagine now, your children are dying on the front lines, and the children of the non-Muslims are sleeping peacefully in their homes with their parents, where the children of Muslims are dying there to defend the non-Muslims. Where on earth can you find this? Tell me today. Where? Show me. The moment you get the citizenship of that country, you have to you have obligations towards that land, towards that country. Like those who are born and raised and they are the inhabitants of that country. In Islam, no. We protect you. So this is called dhimmi. Then we have the mu'ahad, those with whom we have covenant, peace treaty, peace agreement. He's a mu'ahad. So this mu'ahad his safety is guaranteed. Then you have the musta'man, those that protection was granted to them for a short period, as long as they are in the land of Muslims, like the tourists who come to Muslim countries. By giving him the visa, that is a document that he is going to be safe in the Muslim land. The same thing, ambassadors, diplomats, all these things, all those are protected. And then you have the harbi, the combatant, those whom you meet in the battlefield. So here in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is saying, من قتل نفسا معاهدا لم يرح رائحة الجنة وإن ريحها يوجد من مسيرة 40 عاما. So if I killed the mu'ahad, this person who was granted protection by the Muslims, and then ignorant Muslims killed him, though he was giving and granted protection to come to the Muslim country, as many ignorant youth who have extreme views and they don't know the rulings of the jihad and the rulings. They are ignorant. Okay? You find them, they kill the tourists, they kill any non-Muslim. That's not permissible, and this what will happen to him, that person. Whoever killed the mu'ahad shall not smell the fragrance of paradise, the fragrance of Jannah. He will not smell it. He thinks he's a mujahid. He thinks that he's doing jihad, when the reality is doing fasad. That's not jihad. Shall not smell the fragrance of paradise, though its fragrance can be smelled at a distance of 40 years. 40 years you can smell the fragrance of the Jannah, but this person will not smell it, because he will be in the hellfire. He will be in the hellfire. Of course, this hadith and the likes, this is we call wa'id. This is wa'id, threatening. Allah is threatening. Okay, and you should know the difference between wa'ad and wa'id. The wa'ad is the promise, and whatever promise Allah promised, the wa'ad will be fulfilled. But the wa'id, threatening, it's up to Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, this person later on, he repented and He did righteous deeds and expiated for all his sins. So it's up to Allah Azza wa Jal. But this is wa'id. Allah threatened. And you have to keep this in mind. And that's why the Khawarij, they went astray when they misunderstood such narrations. Another beautiful hadith عن أم هانئ بنت طالب. Okay, so the sister of Ali radiallahu anhu, so the daughter of Abi Talib. قالت ذهبت إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عام الفتح فوجدته يغتسل وفاطمة ابنته تستره بثوب فسلمت فقال من هذه؟ من هذه؟ فقلت أنا أم هانئ بنت أبي طالب. فقال مرحبا بأم هانئ. فلما فرغ من غسله قام فصلى 8 ركعات ملتحفا في ثوب ثم انصرف. فقلت يا رسول الله زعم ابن أمي علي أنه قاتل رجلا أجرته فلان ابن هبيرة فلان ابن هبيرة. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قد أجرنا من أجرت يا أم هانئ. قالت أم هانئ وذلك ضحى. متفق عليه. وفي رواية للترمذي قالت أجرت رجلين من أحمائي. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قد أمنا من أمنتي. The meaning in English: this tells you and shows you what Islam has given women and the status of women in Islam. Before, a woman was nothing in Jahiliyyah. And see her status in Islam. So Hani, daughter of Abu Talib, said, I went to Allah's Messenger ﷺ in the year of the conquest, Am al-Fath, when the Prophet ﷺ entered Mecca. And you know that he granted amnesty to all. He forgave all the mushriks. And you know his famous saying, whoever stays, man dakhala bayta fahuwa amin. Whoever stays behind doors, he is safe. Man dakhala bayt Abi Sufyan fahuwa amin. Whoever enters the house of Abu Sufyan, he is also safe. He will not be harmed. And when he addressed them and all of them in front of him, those who tortured him, tortured his followers, persecuted them, killed them, and when he asked them, what do you think I'm going to do to you? Said, a generous son of a generous brother. Go, you are free. This is what happened. So Hani, daughter of Abu Talib, said, I went to Allah's Messenger ﷺ in the year of the conquest and found him bathing, taking a bath, while his daughter Fatima was screening him with a garment. She was holding a piece of cloth, so no one could see the Prophet ﷺ. I gave a salam, so I salutation, greeting, and asked who, and he asked, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he heard the salam, salam alaikum. So he asked who was there. Then when I told him I was Hani, daughter of Abu Talib. Okay. She is what? She is the daughter of his uncle. He said, welcome, Hani. After he finished bathing or taking the shower, he got up and prayed 8 rak'ahs. This is what he did in Aam al-Fath. He prayed 8 rak'ahs, wrapped in a garment, and when he was done, so she waited until he prayed. Then when he finished, she asked him, I said, "O Messenger of Allah, my mother's son, Ali, my mother's son, Ibn Ummi." Okay. So my mother's son, Ali, has asserted that he is going to kill a man whom I have given protection. So and so, the son of Hubayra. So she came to complain. I have granted protection to this non-Muslim, son of Hubayra, and my brother Ali is threatening. And he is going to kill this man, though I gave him protection. He replied, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have given protection to those to whom you have granted it, Hani. We have given protection to those to whom you have granted it, O Hani. Don't worry. No one is going to harm or lay his hand on this man. See? He granted protection. Finish. He's a Muslimah. He gave protection to this non-Muslim. We have to give the protection to this non-Muslim. She said that was in the forenoon. This is the narration of Bukhari and Muslim. In another version, another narration reported by Imam Tirmidhi, and it is authentic. He said, I have given protection to 2 of my husband's male relatives. 2 male relatives of my husband's. I have granted them, I have given them protection. And Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, we have given security to those to whom you have given it. Don't worry, Hani. You women have lofty status in Islam. We will not let you down, O Hani. And those whom you have granted protection, they will not be harmed. They will not be harmed. Alhamdulillah, this is our Islam. This is the beauty of Islam, this beautiful religion. But many of us are ungrateful. Ungrateful. My dear sisters, see what Islam has given you. Also, this deen teaches us everything. You will not find a deen like the deen of Islam. You will not find it, where it addresses everything in your life. Everything. Whatever you want. Islam tells you what to do. So listen to this beautiful hadith, which is known to many of you. عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: خيركم خيركم لأهله وأنا خيركم لأهلي. رواه ابن ماجه, and it's authentic. This hadith should be always there in front of every husband. Should be there in the bedroom, wherever you go. Remember this hadith. خيركم خيركم لأهله وأنا خيركم لأهلي. So Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of you is the one who is best to his wife or his wives. And I'm the best of you to my wives. Very clear cut hadith. خيركم خيركم لأهلي. The best of you is the one who is best to his wife. He treats her kindly, justly, with love, with passion. And the Prophet ﷺ is our role model, how he treated his wives, how he lived with them. And that's why I recommend each husband to read the book of Ishrat al-Nisa by Imam Nasai. It's there, free on the net, download it and read it. خيركم خيركم لأهلي. You not find husband better than the Prophet ﷺ. The best husband is the Prophet ﷺ. How he held his wives, tolerated them, giving them their rights, have fun with them, good moments with them. He would chat with them, he would stay awake with them, listening to them after Isha, though he disliked staying awake after Isha, but with his family, with his wives, he would stay awake. Because a woman needs to, that is their nature. They're bottling up throughout the day. So they need someone to vent, to talk to. Though the nature of men, they can't stand listening attentively. The mind starts to wander. But we need to train ourselves. Just keep quiet. Don't argue. The poor girl wants to relieve what she has inside. So just keep quiet. Listen to her. Don't say anything. even if she's angry, even if she's upset. That's not the time to discuss things. Keep quiet. Let her bring out. Because after that, she feels better now. So the Prophet ﷺ would listen to them. When Aisha said the Abyssinians, they were playing with their spears in the masjid, throwing the spears. So the Prophet ﷺ, he asked her, "Oh Aisha, do you want to see?" She said, "Yes." He lowered his shoulder for her, lowered his shoulder for her. She placed her chin on his shoulder. And she said, "I was not interested to watch the Abyssinians, but just want to other women, other wives, to know how dear I am to him and how close I am to his heart." So when the Prophet asked her, "Have you done? Are you okay? Finished?" She said, no, more. Not because she wants to watch, no. She wanted the others to feel and how to know that, my status, how close I am to his heart. Or when he was in one of the military expeditions, or what, and when he was coming back, he told the army, go, leave us behind. And he and his wife Aisha. And he told Aisha, "Now come, let us race. Let us race." She said, "By then I was thin. We ran and I won the race." He kept quiet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then she said, "فانتظر حتى حملت اللحمة." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam waited till I put on weight. And it happened again that I was with him. And he told the army, "Advance, go." Told the Sahaba, "Go." And he said, "Aisha, come, let us race, let us run." He said, "Don't you see? I put on weight." He said, "By Allah, you have to run." He's teaching us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they ran. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this time, he won the race. And he said, tit for tat. Okay. هذه بتلك. First time, beginning, you won. Now I won. He's teaching us. There is fun in the marital life within the Sharia framework. The Prophet ﷺ, he told the Sahaba, go. So no one was watching them alone. So you go with your family, countryside, no one there. You run with your wife, no problem. Okay. But to have cameramen and team, taking shots of you and your wife and putting them on the YouTube and everyone is watching. That's not the Sunnah. The Sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ told the men, go. So no one can watch us. Okay? And this is now a sickness. Sickness. Muslim families on the net. Everyone sees your wife. Oh, where is the ghaira? Where is the jealousy? Where is it? No manhood. Everyone is watching and seeing you and your wife inside home, and Allah al-Musta'an. Allah al-Musta'an. Allah al-Musta'an. And they think that we want the people to know that Islam is beautiful. What? You're showing your family? عن أنس رضي الله عنه قال, listen to this beautiful hadith, my dear sisters. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم المرأة إذا صلت خمسها وصامت شهرها وأحصنت فرجها وأطاعت بعلها فلتدخل من أي أبواب الجنة شاءت. رواه أبو نعيم في الحلية وصححه الألباني رحمه الله تعالى. Anas reported, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, when a woman observes the 5 times of prayer, fasts during Ramadan, preserves her chastity, and obeys her husband, she may enter by any of the gates of paradise she wishes. Beautiful hadith. This was giving this honor and this reward women, not men. المرأة إذا صلت خمسها, when you pray and maintain your prayers 5 times a day, وصامت شهرها, and you fast the month of Ramadan, that means she protects her honor, her chastity, her private part from committing zina. وأطاعت بعلها. أطاعت بعلها. Obeys her husband. So my dear sisters, obeying your husband is ibadah. Because when you obey your husband, you obey Allah. Because Allah is the one who commanded you to obey your husband. So keep that in mind, that by obeying your husband, you obey your Lord, who made your husband your hell and your paradise. When the Prophet ﷺ asked a woman, Adatu Ba'lin, are you married? She said, yes. Say, how's your relationship with him? Said, I don't spare any effort to please him. Said, be aware. فإنما هو جنتك ونارك. He's your Jannah and he's your nar. He's your heaven and he is your hell. What does it mean? If you obey him, you'll go to heaven, paradise. If you disobey him, you'll go to hell. So when this pious husband asks you, you have to obey. As long as he doesn't ask you to do something haram. If you disturb him, if you make him upset or angry, his wives, the huriyat, they curse you in the Jannah. And they tell you, may Allah curse you. He is only staying with you for a short period and he will come to us. So that's why the pious wife will always be dutiful and obedient to her husband, because she knows by obeying her husband, this is the reward she's going to get on the day of resurrection. All the gatekeepers of the Jannah calling her. She can go through any one of the gates of the Jannah. All the gates she can go through. So this honor, this privilege is given to women. So get rid of this intellectual slavery. The media poisoned your mind. They enslaved you. And they filled your mind with the idea you are not his slave, you are not his servant. Why should you obey him? Islam is totally different. Because if a family in Islam is based on this respect and love and kindness. So when we have strong families, we have strong community. And when we have a strong community, we have a strong ummah. And obeys her husband. Because a Muslimah who fears Allah should not go to sleep if her husband is angry with her, because Allah will be angry with her, and the whole night the angels are cursing her. And obeys her husband. She may enter by any of the gates of paradise as she wishes. By any of the gates of paradise she wishes. All the gates are open for her. Come. This is the reward Allah has given to the Muslimah who fears Allah Azza wa Jal, fulfills her obligations towards Allah and then towards her husband. May Allah guide our sisters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make their marital life successful and happy. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us remain steadfast on this beautiful deen, al-Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us beneficent knowledge and give us the success and the tawfiq to do righteous deeds. Ameen. May Allah forgive us our faults, mistakes, and ignorance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide our ummah to the haqq. Ameen. And may Allah unite our hearts on the haqq. Ameen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, immensely for your dedication, for your patience, for your attendance. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise your status in this world and in the next. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair, Shaykh Salem. Brothers and sisters, inshallah, we will start the question and answer session now. Please send in your questions fast and together and very clear, inshallah. Otherwise, please raise your hands so you can ask them directly and verbally. We've received some questions already. We will begin with those, inshallah. The first question. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. My mother-in-law has 4 daughters-in-law, and she wants to give me all her jewelry, 12 sovereigns approximately. After her death, she has already informed it in a gathering of her other daughter-in-laws that she has not given enough to me when compared to other daughters-in-laws. Hence, she informed others that all her jewelry be given to me after her death. Can I inherit it after her death? Please advise.
She has children, other children?
She has other daughter-in-laws.
No, children, not daughter-in-laws.
This they haven't mentioned.
Sorry, daughter-in-law, that means she has boys, she has sons.
Yeah, they have not specified or written this. If the questioner can give us more details.
This is clear. Daughter-in-law, that means she is the wife of my son.
Yeah. Yes.
That means at least she has 4 sons.
Correct.
And the daughter-in-law cannot inherit. Okay, so the daughter-in-law, if she wants to give her something as a gift during her lifetime, that is well and fine. But providing also that this gift is not going to consume the whole property. Okay, and after her death, the children are the ones who are the legitimate heirs. I hope this is clear to the questioner.
Inshallah, it is clear. If not, the questioner can ask further or give further details. Next question. In Bangladesh, we have some Sufi scholars who arrange jalsa to do dhikr. They gather together and say who, and other weird things. Some youngsters take those video clips and add beats and music to make DJ songs out of it and play it at weddings. Is it sinful if we do not stop these youngsters? Also, can we share their videos for entertainment?
No, you should not share their videos for entertainment, because this is dalal, this is misguidance. May Allah guide them. And also those young ones who take these songs or chants and use them for weddings should not be used, and they have to stop such activities and such practices. This is my advice for them. Next, please.
The next question. Does a person have to perform sujood as sahu when they can hear themselves a little in the silent prayers and they've counted wrong? How many times do they spit on the left for when seeking refuge in Allah?
Regarding spitting, it's not spitting, you blow lightly. Okay, so you can do that many times to ward off the shaitan. So whenever you feel the waswas, so you can do that. And regarding what the sujood sahw for what? She raised her voice in the salah or what?
She heard her voice in silent prayers.
That is the correct way. That is the sunnah. Because many people, they are under this misimpression. Silent prayer means you don't articulate, you don't pronounce. So they read in their minds only. They don't move their tongues. And they think this is the meaning of silent prayer. That's not correct. You need to articulate. You need to bring the words out so you hear them. So no need for sujood sahw at all. What you did is the right thing. Of course, you are not reading loudly, but you articulate. So the letters and the words, they come out. I hope this is clear to the questioner. Next, please.
Inshallah, it is clear, Sheikh. Next question. If a woman is not married, is obeying her parents an act of ibadah?
Absolutely. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. So after obeying Allah Azza wa Jal, you obey your parents, as long as they don't ask you to do something haram. Okay, because the father is your gate to the Jannah, and your mother, the Jannah at her feet. So you obey them, yes. Next.
The next question.
I said the Jannah at her feet, not under her feet. Why? Because there are two narrations. Many, they know that the Jannah, al-Jannah tahta aqdam al-ummahat, paradise is under the feet of the mother. That is weak narration. But the Prophet ﷺ said, فَثَمَّ الْجَنَّةِ عند قدم الأم فَثَمَّ الْجَنَّةِ, at her feet. This is the authentic narration. So keep this in mind. Next.
The next question. We know that going on our knees is solely for Allah and also not permissible to greet the elders by going on our knees, as it's a common practice in the subcontinent. What if I want to punish my little child by telling him or her to kneel down as a form of punishment? Is this permissible to do?
No. We don't do that. We don't do that. We don't bow, we don't kneel for anyone. Okay. So get rid of all these bad practices that borrowed from the non-Muslims. Next.
The next question. I know it's recommended to make sure our head touches the bare ground when we go for sujood. I also see some people not standing on the prayer mat while praying. Rather, they stand on the bare ground while abandoning the mat. Is this a sunnah?
They don't pray on the prayer mat, you mean? They pray on the floor.
Yeah, so firstly, they said that it's recommended to touch, the head touches the bare ground when they go for sujood. Also, they see that some people are not praying on the prayer mat. Is that because it's a sunnah or?
Praying on the prayer mat is permissible. It is permissible. We are not saying it's recommended. It's permissible. So if you pray in the prayer mat because the floor is cold, for example, that's okay. Because the masjid at the time of the Prophet ﷺ was furnished with sand, not carpet. Okay. And he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you place your forehead on the floor or outside on the ground, okay, you don't, remove and try to spend a lot of time just removing the sand, etc. So it is permissible to pray, whether in the prayer mat or directly on the floor or outside on the ground, providing that the earth or the ground is clean. There's no najasa there. So if you see someone who doesn't pray on the prayer mat, that is that is the norm. That is the norm. So you should not blame him or her. And yes, the forehead has to touch the ground or the floor, whether directly or on the prayer mat. But your forehead has to touch the floor. Because some people, they don't place the forehead firmly. You find them, their heads like this. So when you prostrate, your forehead should touch the prayer mat or the floor directly. Your nose, your palms your knees, and your toes. All these, okay, places should be firm on the floor when you pray. Is this clear to the questioner?
Inshallah, hopefully it is clear, Sheikh. Next question. Kindly enlighten us on how to bath the dead in Sharia, especially if we want to bath our loved ones like our father or mother when they are dead.
Alhamdulillah. First of all, we clean the deceased. Okay, they say you make the deceased to sit a little bit, so the tummy is slanted, and you press gently on the tummy, so the waste will come out. Because now the dead person, he cannot control anything. So the waste inside the body will come out. So if you don't press it and bring it while giving the burial wash, later on it will come out and will contaminate the shroud, and bad smell will come out. So we raise the body a little bit and we press gently until the waste comes out. Then after, of course, when we do these things, we don't watch the private parts of the body. We do these things while we are putting sheet of paper, a piece of cloth, and you are pressing gently and without looking, and you wear gloves. So after cleaning the deceased, okay, you give the normal wudu to the deceased, and then shower after that, washing the hair, the right side, the left side, and you use sidr. This is sunnah. Sidr is the leaves of the lut tree. They dry them, then they crush them, they become powder, and then they mix that with water, so to become very fluffy and gives nice smell. So that's the best thing we do. If we don't have sidr, then we can use shampoo or we can use soap, whatever. So after washing the body, the last wash, we apply camphor, kafur, and scent to the body. We don't apply or stuff the noses, the nostrils, and the anus with cotton, as some people they do. That's not correct. And then for a woman, there should be 5 pieces used: izar, okay, like a petticoat. Then the scarf, something we tie the hair, and of course, the hair after washing it can be braided into 3 locks and thrown behind. And then 3 sheets, the body will be rolled in. For the men, only 3 sheets, and preferably these sheets are white. And the one who gives the burial wash, if he sees something good signs, he can mention. If he sees bad signs, he should keep quiet and not mention them. Because some people, you feel you see good signs. I told you, I think I mentioned this maybe 1 month ago. a woman passed away, a sister, one of our sisters, and when they were giving her the burial wash, her daughters were washing her, and of course with other women helping them, and she raised her finger like that in the when they were washing her, so much so that one of her daughters shouted, "My mother's not dead." So those experienced women, they told her, no, she is dead. But this is, alhamdulillah, good indication, good sign. Also, I would like here to add that it is permissible in Islam for a wife to wash her husband, that is permissible. And Ali, radiallahu anhu, he washed Fatima. And Aisha said, had the men gave us a chance, we would have washed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it is permissible in Islam for a husband to wash his wife and vice versa, and the wife to wash her husband. Apart from the Hanafi school, they're saying no, husband cannot wash his wife, or wife cannot wash her husband. Why? When we see the ahadith, and the Prophet ﷺ, one day he told Aisha when he found her complaining, saying, "Oh, I have a headache," said, "Oh Aisha, what if you die and I wash you?" The Prophet ﷺ clearly saying that if Aisha dies, he will wash her. What to do with this hadith? And Ali washed Fatima. What do you have? What is your proof? The proof is only qiyas, analogy. And we know qiyas cannot be accepted in the presence of the text. The qiyas says what? They say what makes a husband, what made it lawful for a husband to see the body of his wife is the marriage contract. And now the marriage contract is nullified, so he cannot see her body. And the same thing they say, for a woman, it is lawful for her to see the body of her husband because of the marriage contract, the wedlock. Now the wedlock is not valid anymore, so it is haram. So you can see that they use the qiyas only, okay? But the narrations are very explicit and clear. So a wife can wash her husband and the husband can wash his wife. How about the young ones, boys or girls? Okay, the woman will wash the girls, but if she is a young, very small girl and no woman to wash, she can be washed by men. How about if someone is alone and his mother passed away and no one to give her burial wash? What can he do? They say he should give her tayammum. You perform tayammum and you roll the body in the shroud and you perform janazah. You don't wash the body of your mother. And Allah knows best. Is this clear to the questioner?
Inshallah, we hope it is clear, Shaykh. Next question. I wanted to ask if sitting on the floor and eating is sunnah.
Yes, it is sunnah. That's how the Prophet ﷺ used to eat. And he passed away without sitting and eating at a table. But this doesn't mean it is haram to eat while sitting sitting at the table. It is permissible. But if you want to sit down and eat while you are sitting, yes, there's no harm. That's how the Prophet ﷺ was eating. Next.
Next question, Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If a wife is permitted to vent to her husband, does this mean she can complain and backbite?
If a wife is what?
Permitted to vent, to be like, yani, to express herself.
Yeah. Of course, it is haram to, of course, to backbite. This is, we have to make it clear. She should not start backbiting and her husband should entertain and listen. No. Okay. Backbiting is haram. Unless, of course, as you know, the exceptions, if this falls under the exceptions, as mentioned, القدح ليس بغيبة في ستة متظلم ومعرف ومحذر والمجهر في الصلاة ومن طلب الإعانة في إزالة منكر. These are the exceptions that غيبة, backbiting, is permissible. القدح ليس بغيبة في ستة. It's not غيبة or considered غيبة. In 6 cases. متظلم, someone wronged you, someone took your property, so you went to the qadi, to the judge, and complained, and you mentioned his name or her name. That's not غيبة. القدح ليس بغيبة في ستة متظلم, number 1. ومحذر, to warn against someone by mentioning his name. He's an innovator. Don't listen to him. That's not غيبة. وَلِمُجْهِرٍ فِسْقًا, someone who spreads moral corruption, whether he's a singer or an actor or an actress, anyone who spreads moral corruption. So mentioning his name and warning the people, that's okay. وَلِمُجْهِرٍ فِسْقًا وَمُسْتَفْتٍ, someone is seeking fatwa. Seeking fatwa, to come to the scholar and ask fatwa and to mention the name, like Hind, the wife of Abu Sufyan. She came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Abu Sufyan, rajulun shahih, he has tight hand. He doesn't spend on me and my children. He doesn't give us enough. Can I take from his money in his absence without telling him? The Prophet ﷺ said, yes. Take what was sufficient for you and your children. So here the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't tell Hind, oh Hind, fear Allah, this is ghiba. No, because she is seeking fatwa. وَمُسْتَفْتٍ وَمَنْ طَلَبَ الْإِعَانَةَ فِي إِزَالَةِ مُنْكَرِ. That is the final one. To seek help and support to remove munkar, something evil is going on, so I come to you and said, help me, akhi. You see, next flat, I think people there, they smoke weed or sell hashish. So this owner of this flat, this is what he's doing. Because they will see the people and they come out. So he comes to you and asks you to help him or to be a witness. That's not ghiba. Apart from that, ghiba is haram. Is this clear to the questioner?
Inshallah, Sheikh, it is clear, inshallah. We hope. The next question, Sheikh. Is it permissible to backbite a disbeliever?
No, you don't backbite anyone. Muslim is, this is not the khuluq, and this is not the character of the Muslim. But if, as I mentioned, there is need, whether he's a Muslim or non-Muslim, to mention, to warn against, that's permissible. But the Muslim should not get his tongue, okay, indulge in vain talks or slandering or backbiting, etc. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Muslim ليس بالسباب وليس باللعان وليس بالبذيء. A Muslim is not one who curses, swears, okay? He curses, he insults, or use vulgar language, indecent language. That's not the character of the Muslim. No. Next.
The next question, Shaykh. What is the difference between the muwahhid and the disbeliever with the short-term protection?
Muwahhid and disbeliever?
Yes.
A muwahhid is a monotheist. One who believes in the oneness of Allah and one who worships only Allah Azza wa Jal, and all his acts of worship are offered to Allah exclusively. That's a muwahhid. The mushrik is the opposite. One who offers his ibadat, his act of worship to other than Allah Azza wa Jal. He calls other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He fears other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He offers sacrifices to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All these things. So the opposite of the muwahhid is the mushrik. And of course, mushrik is kafir and kafir is mushrik. These two terms can be used synonymously and interchangeably. I hope this is clear to the questioner.
Inshallah, we hope it is clear, inshallah. Sheikh, next question. If a disbeliever kills a Muslim in a Muslim country, then what is the prescribed punishment for the disbeliever? If the family of the deceased is allowed to choose the punishment by the country, then how should the family act?
Yeah, if a disbeliever, he killed the disbeliever or he killed the Muslim?
He killed a Muslim.
Of course, he will be killed. And that's what happened at the time of the Prophet. A woman, they found her breathing her last. And she could not talk. So they asked her, who did it? Who did it? And they started mentioning names. Then she mentioned, when they mentioned one name, she said, so they took that person, man, non-Muslim, interrogated, and he admitted, and he was killed. The ruling is clear in Islam. Next.
The next question, Sheikh. Further to the hadith regarding a woman who does 5 things will enter Jannah in any door. Can a wife still obey a husband who is not pious? You mentioned a pious husband not needing clarification. Jazakallah khair.
No, that is when I said a pious husband. Normally, he should be a pious husband, but normal, and your husband, even if he is, not that perfect in character, as long as he is not asking you to do something haram. So do your duty. Do fulfill your obligations towards him. Next.
Next question, Sheikh. I was just wondering if it is in any way recommended over sitting at the table and eating. I mean, if given 2 options, sitting down and eating and sitting at the table and eating, what should be done?
Both are permissible. I prefer to sit on the floor. You feel more relaxed. Okay. But this doesn't mean it's not allowed to sit at the table. No. Next, please.
The next, I believe that's the last question, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair, if you'd like to conclude, inshallah.
Barakallahu feekum, jazakumullah khair. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless you, bless your family, protect you, protect your family, put barakah in your life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our deeds and your deeds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us remaining steadfast on this beautiful deen till we meet him and he is pleased with all of us. Ameen. Until we meet inshallah in the coming session, I leave you in Allah's protection and Allah's company. في حفظ الله ورعايته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.